Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head away up to the north of Sweden, and this will be a brewery who otherwise I would never ever have heard of. This beer was a recommendation from Eric Bengtsson, who's followed the channel for a little while now, so a huge thank you to Eric for this recommendation, and I hope this turns out to be a really nice beer actually. So for this one we are going to go for the first time to the Jämmerdalen Handverksbryggeri, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and we're having a taste of their Grand Cru. So this one comes in at 10% ABV and it's a barrel aged sour red ale. Now if you've watched the channel before you will know that I absolutely love red ales, and you know I had the Rodenbach Vintage 2016 recently, which was like a Flemish red, a sour Flemish red, so I'm very curious to see whether this one is anything like that at all. I think this will be a really interesting beer, and I always enjoy reviewing beers from these very small breweries. If it hadn't been for Eric telling me about this brewery, the chances are I probably wouldn't have heard of them unless they put something through the small partiers, and they are a very small operation, so that's really quite unlikely actually. But yeah, looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and thank you again to Eric for the recommendation here. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I could do in the future from Jämmerdalen Handverksbryggeri. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Jämmerdalen Handverksbryggeri then. So this brewery were founded back in 2016, and they're based in a little place called Kalix, or Shalix. I'm not sure of the exact pronunciation, but it's in the very north of Sweden. It's kind of right on the coast. It's a little bit further north than Luleå, very close to the Finnish border, and it's fairly close to the coast actually as well. But the brewery is run by Johan Åkerman and Jenny Runbach, who I believe are a couple, but they brew mainly Belgian styles of beer, and they started off with a very small 250 litre brew kit, and their first beers were produced in 2017 for local pubs in the area. But their beers entered Systembolaget in early 2018, and Jenny and Johan are both still working their regular jobs as well as doing the brewery part-time, but they do hope that eventually they can work full-time at the brewery, and they do have plans to move into a slightly bigger premises at some point soon. And apparently the artwork that's on some of these beers is designed by Anna Andersson, who's a childhood friend of Jenny, and she actually runs her own tattoo shop as well. So yeah, there's an interesting brewery, this one. They focus, as I said, mainly on Belgian beers. When I was having a look on their Untappd and things, I think there was about 7 or 8, or no, it's more than that, maybe about 15 or so different beers were listed on there. Most of them were sours. There were 1 or 2 IPAs in there as well actually, but yeah, most of them were sort of sour beers, and it's quite an adventurous thing actually for them to do, for a very small brewery like this to start off just with sour beers. You know, it is pretty impressive actually. The first beer that they did was a sort of was a grisette actually, which is again quite interesting. Sort of that, if I'm remembering rightly, that's a sort of salty, wheaty kind of farmhouse beer, that one. I've had a couple of those on the channel, but there was a big phase where everyone was brewing those for a while, and they seem to have died out again. So maybe I can review that for you at some point fairly soon as well. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, check out the brewery website. Of course, you can follow them on Facebook. I don't think they had a website actually. I think you will have to follow them on Facebook or on Instagram. But yeah, as you can see, very nicely presented. It says on the side here the artwork on this one was done by Donald Punk, and I'm not sure if that's an alias for Anna Andersson, or if it will be if that's her tattoo studio or something like that. Maybe some of the different artists in that shop do the different artworks for them as well. But yeah, really nicely presented, this one. As I said, it's a barrel aged sour red ale coming in at 10% ABV. So yeah, it said yeast with blended yeast and bacteria culture, fermented for 10 months in a red wine vat, basically. So yeah, this should be quite interesting. I'm guessing then it won't be a Flemish red by any means. If it's a red wine vat, it will not be a Flemish red beer. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. I'm very curious to see how this one, how this turns out. You know, Of course, one of my favourite breweries that we have here in Sweden is Bryggeriet, who are very local to me here in Lund. They are just up in Landskrona, actually, where I work. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. Oh, and this is going to be a pain to get off. My fingers are hurting from that already. I'm twisting it up again. No, right, off. Come on. It's the one thing I don't like about these. Pain. But yeah, let's get this guy out then, and we will get on with the tasting. Does it not want to come out? I think we're going to have to use this, unfortunately. It's going to be one of these ones. Drill it in. There we go. Thought I was just going to be able to pull that out, but obviously not. See if we can just get it in. Maybe even a bit further, I think. Ah, there we go. Done. We can sort that later. But yeah. Ooh, this is going to be a monster. You can smell that straight away as soon as you open it up. Ooh, this does look good actually. Look at that. No head on this at all. It's a lot darker than I was expecting it to be. It's really just a very dark kind of ebony rosewood colour. We can get rid of the brewery notes for this now. But yeah, look at that. That looks like an absolute monster of a beer. If I hold this up to the light, if I hold it up to the light behind me here, it's got a lovely kind of dark chestnutty mahogany kind of colour to it there. There's just a very, very thin foamy layer to this one, but that's faded away. There's hardly anything on the head of that. Just look at the surface of that beer. That's what you get when you age something for that long. It's very difficult for them to actually retain their heads, but I'm guessing if there was a head on this one it would be a very kind of thin sort of beigey foam thing, because you can see there's some of the beigey bubbles, slight fawny colour bubbles just around the edge of this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, and a few little ones heading up towards at the bottom of the head, or where that head should be, I should say. But yeah, this beer is pretty hazy. If I would hold my fingers behind it up next to the light, yeah, definitely quite a hazy one this, but there's some lovely fruity aromas coming off this beer. So let's just have a smell of this one and see how we get on. Not a little bit darker than I was expecting in terms of appearance, but you know, in terms of a sour beer, they can be various different colours. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and see how we go with this. But yeah, lots of nice kind of tart citricy notes coming out of this one. You can definitely pick up some of the nice sort of oaky, woody notes out of this beer. It does have a little hint of a kind of vanilla-y note in it too, which is interesting. Yeah, definitely a sort of woody, oaky, vanilla sort of note coming out of this beer. You can pick up, there is a little touch of a breadiness to this one, I think. There's some, I want to say there's a little bit of brown sugar in here, there's some caramel. Yeah, there's definitely brown sugars in here. There's a caramel, but it smells like quite a syrupy caramel. It's not quite treacle or molasses. I don't think it's quite that dark. It's more of a sweet brown sugar that's coming out of this one. There is a little bit of a biscuity note to the beer as well, which is really nice. Some grainy biscuity aromas. Yeah. Lovely biscuity sweetness in there. There is definitely a lovely kind of sweet backbone to this beer. There's not much for me coming off in the way of hoppiness, just a little touch of a grassiness and a very slight earthiness or something like that. Just a little tiny bit. And of course when it's been when it's been sitting in the barrel for about 10 months, most of the hops, to be fair, are going to drop out of the flavour of this beer. But yeah, the red fruity notes in this are really interesting. You've definitely got some of that tart citricy note from the bacteria in this one, but you can also get some of that red wine vinous quality to the beer, and it's got some kind of candied red fruits as well. There's maybe a little bit of a raspberry-ish kind of tartness in there as well, some figgy, raisiny notes and stuff like that, some plums maybe as well. It's just a really interesting aroma from this beer. It's just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma for yourself. It's got a good little bit of complexity to it. Normally, when I've had a number of these different sour beers, a lot of them, you know, you just pick up the citrusy tartness. There's a little bit of grassiness and some bread, and that's it. But with this one, there is a good bit of complexity in the aroma with this one. The woody notes, the oakiness, the vanilla, the brown sugars, biscuit, all of that. There's definitely a nice little bit of complexity to that, so just take a little bit of time and enjoy that aroma before you get stuck into the beer. But I really want to try this one now. So this one is the Grand Cru A barrel-aged sour red ale at 10% ABV from the Jämmerdalen Handverksbryggeri up in Kalix, just near the Finnish border here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this beer. Slange, skull. Thank you to Eric again for the recommendation. Skull. Ooh. First thing I'm noticing about this is how smooth it is, and it does have a nice kind of sharp kick to it. It does have a good bit of sourness. If you like your sour beers to be a little bit puckering, then this is one that you are going to enjoy. Yeah, jeez. The sourness to this is really like, it's very nice. It's a really good beer, but the sourness, it's kind of like when I tried the Cascade, the blueberry from Cascade. I didn't quite expect it to be this sour. I thought this one, going by the aroma, I really thought this beer would be a little bit sweeter. But this one really is quite puckering with the sour qualities. It's really nice. It just takes you a few sips to get into these beers, so just beware of that when you try this one for yourself for the first time. You will need to let your mouth adjust to this properly. But yeah, straight up with this beer, you can feel there is a little bit, it's got a good little bit of complexity to it, I think, and I can feel my mouth really is starting to adjust to this now. I'm starting to get a lot more different flavours rather than this just kind of citrusy and citricy blast that you get at the start of the beer. I like how this one goes together, to be quite honest. So yeah, you've got a nice little bit of a bready note that just kind of blankets the middle of your palate there. It starts to become gradually more woody the further into the aftertaste you go. There's definitely some biscuity sweetness in there, maybe a little touch of caramel in the middle of the palate too. Yeah, it's not quite as complex as I was thinking it would be from the aroma, but it's got a good balance of flavour, and I will say that about it straight away. There's some of the hoppy notes there as well. Once your mouth adjusts to this beer properly, there's a tiny little bit of earthiness there in the back corners of the palate, and as you come further forward, as the beer sort of almost dries out a little bit, you can feel there's a little bit of a sort of floral aromaticity there. Those hoppy notes just spread further forward, and around the very front curve of the tongue it's a little bit grassy, but you can feel the sour components of the beer just pushing into the IBUs a little bit and kind of taking them away. Again, like I said, if the beer is left for 10 months in a barrel to age, the hops in it will inevitably drop out. The malt base I'm finding is getting a little bit more complex as well. Like I said, there's a little bit of that bready note in there. There's a wee bit of a biscuity caramel, a little touch of caramel right in the centre of the palate, but then a little bit of a kind of biscuity note coming out from the centre of the palate too. And as you come further forward, it's got a little bit of it's definitely got a little bit of that woody flavour in there as well, and that you can start to feel a little bit of the biscuity flavour kind of mixing in with that as well. But this beer overall, I've tried to avoid talking about the sourness of this beer just so far to get all those kind of subtleties out of it, but the sourness from this beer really does get, gives you a bit of a kick in the balls, to be honest. It's got a good, really almost kind of puckering quality to it. It does take your mouth a little bit to adjust to it, and it's a very vinous red wine kind of sourness that you're getting from this one. You can definitely pick up when the beer starts. You've seen how long it was since I've taken a sip of this one. You can definitely feel around the edge of your palate some of the kind of red wine grapey flavours out of this one. I love grape juice, and I really love the Japanese red wines in particular. You know, my girlfriend and I tried a hell of a lot of those over in Japan, and I really love the red grapes that you get over there, and the flavours that are coming out of this one. It's strange because they do remind me of those particular grapes actually, those dark purpley red grapes that you can get. It's got this lovely grapey flavour, red wine grapes. Just to kind of, it's almost like you go in from the edge of your the front of your palate, and you just get some of these red wine grapey notes out there, but just in from the edge of your tongue, that's where you get these really kind of citrus, kind of citricy notes from the I don't know if it'll be Lactobacillus or Brettanomyces they'll be using in this beer, but this is definitely an interesting one, and I can see why Eric recommended that I should have this. I'm going to go and share this with my friend afterwards, because I think it's a bit much for one person this, so make sure if you get a bottle of this, share it with somebody. But in terms of a sour beer, it's really pretty nice actually. If you like the red wine sour beers, then I think you will really quite enjoy this. And yeah, as I say, just take a few sips of it, sugar it around your mouth, and let your mouth adjust, because it does gradually become more and more complex the further into this, the aftertaste you go with this beer. It really, just with the level of sourness that you have in this, you need to let your mouth adjust and just get used to what's going on with it. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say this beer, it's mid-bodied. The carbonation in this, my one complaint I would have about this beer is that the carbonation is pretty is non-existent really. There's no carbonation in this beer at all, pretty much. You know, it is one thing. You know, maybe it's something that we might have to look at if it's conditioned like this, because the way this beer is conditioned is very, very nice. But maybe they have to figure out just how to get just even a little bit of carbonation in this beer, because it just needs a little bit of that to kind of fully get all these flavours. You just need that little bit of crispness in these sour beers. And in some way that might also help just take away a little bit of the sour edge that this beer has. It has a real sharp sour edge, so if they can get the carbonation right with this one, I think they'll be on to a real winner with this beer. You know, I think that's my one criticism that I can give this one, is it needs a little bit of carbonation, because it has pretty much none at all. So that gives it like a big oily mouthfeel, and I just always feel with the sour beers they should just be a little bit crisper than that, but that's just the way I like them. Other people might have different opinions, but flavour wise you cannot fault this beer. It's nicely done in terms of its recipe. Just put a bit of carbonation into it and it'll just take up that extra level. But yeah, tiny little bit of hoppy presence in this one. You know, you're talking about 10 IBUs or something like that. There's very little hoppy bitterness to this beer. Very, very puckering in terms of its sour characteristics. Nice little bit of sweetness to the malt base, but also some smoothness in there as well. And the fruity notes are interesting. I was trying to pick out some of the different fruity notes in this. As I say, you get some of these red wine grapey notes. But yeah, there's also a little bit, the further into the aftertaste you go with this beer, you also get a little bit of a kind of figgy kind of flavour to it as well. I think there's a little bit of a raisin plummy sharpness to the beer too, but really at the front of the tongue it's very much about these really sharp citricy notes, and the sort of black, the sort of purple red grapes, however you want to actually term them, the red wine grapes. A little bit of a kind of raisiny and plum sharpness in there, and the further into the aftertaste you go, it becomes a little bit more figgy and almost like a kind of candied strawberry and sort of thing. So there's a lot of fruitiness to this beer. So if you like your sour beers to be fruity and sharp, then this is one that I think that you are really going to enjoy. But it's really cool actually to see that you've got a little brewery who, you know, producing about 250 litres at a time or something like this. It really is pretty cool actually that they you know, they went for a beer kind of as adventurous as this. So, you know, if they can keep up brewing things like that, you know, they will be, I think they're on to a winner in a couple of years. Like I say, my only criticism I can give of this one is that it needs a little bit of carbonation, so hopefully that's something that they can work on going forward. But I definitely need to try another one of their beers. I'd like to try one of their IPAs and just see how they do something that's a little less adventurous, if you like. I think that would be a good measure of the brewery. But yeah, if you get the chance to try this, definitely have a go at it. You can order it through Systembolaget on online. So you order this to your local your local store and have a taste of it. But yeah, big thumbs up to Jämmerdalen Handverksbryggeri for this. They've done a really interesting beer, and I do hope that I can try some more from these in the future. And again, thank you to Eric for the recommendation. I would never have heard of this brewery if it hadn't been for him dropping me a message through the Facebook page for the channel. So yeah, if you get a chance to try some of the Jämmerdalen beers, have a go, because it seems to be that they are going to be a little bit adventurous, but to me, yeah, really nice beer, and I hope I can try some more from these guys in the near future. So yeah, this one was the Grand Cru, a barrel-aged sour red ale from Jämmerdalen Handverksbryggeri in what was it? The name's gone right out of my head now. Kalix, that's it. Kalix. Up in the very north of Sweden, just very close to the Finnish border actually. But yeah, really nice beer this, and I'm glad that I got to try it, so hope you guys have enjoyed my take on it. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Jämmerdalen Handverksbryggeri, and hopefully I can try some more from them fairly soon. Thank you again to Eric for the recommendation, and I will catch you guys shortly. Make sure you have a go at this beer, and do recommend some other kind of sour red beers and stuff for me to try, because this is a style that I really do quite enjoy. Until the next time, Slange now, and I'll catch you guys later. Skål.